Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. Just want to talk about how, it's okay to have feelings of hopelessness and, defeat, a little bit of depression or whatever, or just not having any hope or outlet. People who talk to me for the first time or had a guy today say he just came across my videos and he was feeling like throwing in the towel and giving up because there's nobody out there telling guys to go for it, to get on the offensive, to call the mother out, except me. There's a few guys out there who kind of know what they're doing. Judge Anthony knows what he's doing because he's familiar with the family court system. Uh, there's a couple guys out there that I won't name that know what they're doing in working with people and how to argue stuff in court and technically how to do things right. But they're not saying in there, go for the gusto and get on the offensive and call a spade a spade. They're saying, oh, sit back and just be really nice and write your paperwork really nice and professional. And the guys who do that over and over again get railroaded and creamed because they're nicely saying, oh, the mother is, you know, um, the mother has been disingenuous about me in court, instead of saying the mother's a pathological liar. She's abusing the system against me and making a mockery of the court system and lying and committing the crime of perjury and violating Civil Rule 11. She should be sanctioned for abusing the system in this way. And what's her end goal in lying about me? It's to destroy the father-child relationship, which is a form of child abuse. So it's okay to feel these feelings of hopelessness and an overwhelming system that you're fighting against. But feeling those come and go. The situation calls for you to get on the offensive and go to war, because if you're gonna suffer, you might as well suffer the pain of putting forth a good fight or a valiant fight and going for it. And half the guys who do that, as soon as they grow some balls and do that, the mothers surrender or wilt or they get exposed. When you are confronted with the hopelessness, the devastation of getting blindsided by family court, you could sit there and say, oh my God, I can't believe this. I've never, it's kind of like, a breakup or relationship or somebody played you or something. Yeah, you can sulk for a few days and stuff like that. And, you know, I got played not too long ago, big time, by somebody who I thought I knew for a decade. Now, I talk about, stop being a simp, stop being this, stop being that. The problem with simps in society really isn't the guys who get played or misled or used. It's the guys who know their girlfriend or baby mom or wife is doing what they're doing and they just tolerate it anyway. Once you find out somebody's playing you or using you and spitting you out or taking advantage of you or whatever, it's time to kick them to the curb and to shame those people and end that stuff. So there's nothing wrong with getting blindsided by the court system, but just like in a relationship, you get blindsided by a breakup or that you got played or whatever. I'm talking about a relationship apart from family court or a friend that betrayed you. You can look at it like, oh my God, I'm glad I found out before I trusted them with something even greater in my life or whatever. Your mental approach to the feelings that you get and what comes at you can totally change how you deal with it. When I got played, it was kind of devastating because I cared about the chick. I cared about her kids. Her family seemed to like me. And actually, I'm still cool with one of her sisters. And she cut off that sister. And now she's whining and crying and pissing in her, or just soaking in her own piss, because all she does is just crap and piss on everybody and it's coming back to haunt her. But during that time, I kept pushing forward. I kept doing my stuff. I kept doing my how I got custody stuff. I got a lot of different things accomplished in life that I hadn't accomplished before because while I was suffering, I just pressed forward. And you could do that. And that's what I did in my family law case. While I was suffering, I had no choice but to fight. So you can suffer and sit there and wallow in the feelings of devastation stuff. I tell people all the time, like, I didn't even want to go to I was shocked, just like you guys were, the first time you got served divorce papers or custody papers or whatever, a restraining order. The first thing I got was a restraining order. My baby's mom knew that I'd never hurt her. Um, there was one time we were joking. Now, she's socked me and hit me a few times and assaulted me. And I would just walk away. I got out of the car one time to walk home, and then she begged me to get back in, just like typical emotional basket case psychotic female. Talk crazy, disrespect, and then when I walk away, then all of a sudden you beg me back. Psychotic evil witch. Just insane. But one time I was joking around and I did this like little backhand thing because she said something smart. I was like that. And then she laughed at it. And then later I was like, you know what? That wasn't that funny. She goes, yeah, it was. She goes, because I knew you'd never do it. Next thing you know, a few years later, we're in court. She's saying, he's harassing me. I'm a victim of this and that. And it was devastating because I walked into court and she's lying about me. She's looking at me she turns around and smirks at me in one hearing. When one of her witnesses come in, it was a lady that I dated whose guts she hated because they were roommates at one point. And she turned around and smirked at me in court. And I'm like, this is so crazy. She's smirking at me in court before the judge comes out. The judge comes out and she cries crocodile tears. Everybody who's on her side used to love me to death. We all used to go to the same church. We were around each other all the time. We were frequenting the same place. We just were always doing stuff: bowling alley, Seattle Mariners baseball game, barbecues. Outside of our regular church things that we did. And all these people totally loved me, and then they believe the story that I'm a monster. And then actually, she's telling people that I only was fighting for my daughter to be back with her, and it was the other way around. She was mad that I didn't want to be with her. So you guys go in there. So I've been through what you guys have been through. So when I talk harshly about grow some balls and get on the offensive and stuff, it's not because I didn't feel it and it was easy for me. It was because I went through the same thing that you guys went through, and I decided I'm going to fight. I'm going to do the right thing. I was following my conscience. I didn't listen to anybody else or anything except my own conscience. And it worked for me, and I stumbled across it. And I try to tell you guys this stuff. This is what works, and nobody wants to listen to me. Or I have people, even with my winning court orders, they call me and say, can I really do this on my own? Can people win without an attorney? I'm like, who the frick do you think you're talking to? I show you my winning court orders. And you're talking, and I say, I won without an attorney. Thousands of other guys have done it. Oh, I know. What the hell is wrong with you? So if you deal with feelings of anxiety, hopelessness, and stuff like that, okay, sulk for a minute about it. But you have to move forward. At the very least, the bottom line, you can face your kids and say that you fought for them instead of you quit on them. At the very least, I was going to be able to show my daughter a pile of paperwork going up to the moon that showed me fighting it and fighting and fighting. And if she said, how can you ruin my life, Dad? I could say, talk to your mom. Go look at this. Go look at this. Look at this stack of paperwork. And it turned out my willingness to do that was the actual answer that actually works. And the pain that I was going through, like the first few months of my court case where I didn't get any court order visitation, it was just insane going through it. I didn't want the original trauma that I suffered, all the people lying about me, all the Judases in my life that betrayed me, and then having to go to the mailbox and read the next document that said what a monster I was. I didn't want to do that. But I had to just keep moving forward. And little by little, I got a win here and a win there and a win there. And then it started steamrolling until the mother surrendered. And I have countless cases where guys, they're sulking and whining and crying, and guys who don't even want to start to fight. And once they get on the offensive, the mother turns around. See, you are giving her a win because the mother, a lot of times they're just testing you and they're playing games because it's the curse of Eve for a woman to want to rule over a man and punk him and dominate him. And then the more that you just surrender and give into it, the more she disrespects you. When you actually stand up to her, now in some cases you do have a war and they're going to fight to the death. But you stand up to them, some of them want to settle right away. And if you keep at it, some of them can't stand the war and you wear them down. I got countless stories like that. You have to fight through the pain and choose to decide and make up your mind, despite the feelings, I'm going for it. and the